Artificial Intelligence Doctor. User question. The patient has an Aveir VR leadless pacemaker. Do you think that the pacemaker is doing its job correctly? Claude AI answer. The pacemaker appears to be functioning appropriately because there are regular, consistent pacing spikes followed by QRS complexes. The ventricular rate is stable and regular, suggesting reliable capture. The wide QRS complexes are expected with ventricular pacing from the right ventricle, where the Aveir is typically placed. The pacing rate appears appropriate. The intervals between paced beats are consistent. The rate appears to be within a physiologically appropriate range. There's no evidence of inappropriate sensing or pacing failures. Regarding capture, each pacing spike is followed by a consistent QRS complex. The morphology of the paced beats is uniform. There's no evidence of failure to capture or undersensing. Given that the Aveir VR is a single-chamber ventricular pacemaker, the AV dissociation we see is expected and appropriate. This device is not designed to coordinate with atrial activity. The pacemaker appears to be performing its intended function of providing reliable ventricular pacing. Would you like me to explain any aspects of the pacemaker function in more detail? User. Yes, please explain any aspects of the pacemaker function in more detail. Claude AI answer. Let me break down the key aspects of how the Aveir VR leadless pacemaker is functioning in this ECG. Pacing function. Each QRS complex is preceded by a distinct pacing spike. The spikes are clearly visible, particularly in the augmented leads. The pacing spikes are consistent in amplitude and timing. The energy delivery appears adequate as each spike successfully captures the ventricle. Capture management. There is a 100% ventricular capture rate visible in this strip. Each pacing stimulus results in a consistent QRS morphology. The wide QRS complexes are expected because the pacing originates from the right ventricular apex. There are no fusion or pseudo-fusion beats visible. Sensing function. The device appears to be appropriately sensing intrinsic cardiac activity. There's no evidence of oversensing, which would cause inappropriate pacing inhibition. No undersensing is noted, which would result in competitive pacing. The timing of the paced events suggests appropriate blinking periods. Rate response. The pacing rate is stable and regular. The rate appears physiologically appropriate. The timing intervals between paced complexes are consistent. There's no evidence of rate response irregularities. Battery/device performance. The consistent spike amplitude suggests adequate battery voltage. The reliable capture indicates proper device tissue interface. The regular timing suggests normal device algorithmic function. Expected AV dissociation. Being a single-chamber device, it doesn't track P waves. The visible P waves moving independently through the strip are normal. This type of AV dissociation is expected and acceptable with VVI pacing. Would you like me to elaborate on any of these specific aspects or discuss other features of the pacemaker function?